Your purpose isn't meant to be found. It's meant to be unveiled. Join me and transformational teacher and serial entrepreneur Kitty Waters for a conversation that busts through the myths about purpose. In this episode, you'll learn the difference between purpose and Dharma, why your excitement is truly a compass, and why uncovering your purpose is a lot simpler than most humans like to make it. Kitty's mission empowers people to do their Dharma and create the life of their dreams. She's very much in the purpose conversation, inspiring people to look inside and discover their soul's calling. She's the co-creator of the Network for Transformational Leaders, a nonprofit and peer group for people doing transformation work. Kitty's life has gone full circle after having a nervous breakdown in her 20s, suffering from depression, drug and alcohol abuse. This dissatisfaction and disconnection from life led her down the personal development route. Kitty's Do Your Dharma course has helped countless men and women let go of their limiting beliefs, unlock their greatest potential, and create the life of their dreams. Kitty launched Kitty Talks in the spring of 2017. Her coaching and the Kitty Talks podcast demystifies Dharma for people and makes it clear and understandable. By sharing real-life people's stories and how they're following their bliss in their own lives, Kitty Talks' mission is to inspire a generation of changemakers to follow their passion and purpose and make a difference on the planet. Today's episode is sponsored by How to Conquer Your Bullshit with CPR, my free training that will help you bring your message to the masses. Sign up for the free training at rubyfremon.com. Now, it's time to uncover purpose and Dharma with Kitty Waters. Hey, thought leaders, I'm back with another special guest. And this guest and I actually first connected on her podcast about a year and a half ago, did we say?
Yeah, absolutely.
And she is from the UK, so I totally dig it when I have people with a British accent on the show because it just makes everything sound so much sexier.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
Well, welcome to the show, Kitty. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, and thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about the deep conversation we are about to have.
Ooh, I love that you preface it with deep. Yes, we're going to go there. We're going to go there and we're going to go deep and we're going to talk about purpose, or as Kitty really likes to position it, as Dharma. So why don't we just start off just so our listeners understand, like, is there a difference between purpose and Dharma?
I would say that your Dharma is your path, whereas your purpose is a moving target, actually. The way the Vedic texts describe Dharma is the path of right action. And actually, when you're on that path, that's when you get synchronicities. That's when you're in alignment with universal energy force. Everything flows and magic and miracles abound.
Ooh, now that sounds interesting. Why aren't more people talking about Dharma?
Well, it's quite new, actually. It's a term that's used in the Vedic text, and it's used in about 18 different Indian languages. Yeah. But actually, when I talk about it, I talk about the Vedas, which is like the Indian equivalent of the Bible. Mm-hmm. And the term Dharma literally means the path of right action. And so when you do your Dharma, you're happier, you're healthier, you live longer, and you have this deep sense of fulfillment that money just can't buy. So my purpose is to wake as many people up to Dharma and get them on the correct path. And of course, the beautiful bit about this, Ruby, which is the secret bit that nobody really knows, is at the moment, we've only got 13% of the planet at the moment in alignment with their Dharma, who are aligned or engaged in what they're doing on a daily basis. So if you imagine a machine with only 13% of the parts working, it just wouldn't work very well. And of course, that's what's happening on our planet. So, by doing your Dharma, you're in alignment with universal energy force. And of course, what can happen is the solutions to the problems we've got on the planet will become visible. You know yourself on the path that you're on now. I've watched you doing some amazing things, how it's just unfolded and how these things pop up and you go, oh my God, where did that come from? Well, that's because you're doing your Dharma.
Right. It's so interesting because I feel like now more than ever, our society is waking up. More and more people are into personal development, and more people are becoming what I call like purpose seekers, like really just desperate to find their purpose, to give their life meaning, to elevate their joy and their fulfillment. But the way that you describe purpose versus Dharma, does it then make more sense to find your Dharma, to find your path, and then your purpose becomes uncovered? Or why don't you share this with us?
Fantastic question, because I think there's a real misnomer out there about I need to find my purpose. I need to find my purpose, but it doesn't work like that. Your purpose is unveiled to you when you take the necessary action towards the things that excite you. So you could be so off your dharmic path, but as long as you're doing the next thing that really holds excitement to you, you're kind of edging towards the correct path in life. So the way I like to describe it is, do you remember that game when you were a kid and they'd say hot, hot, cold, cold,
yes,
hot,
yes.
hot? Right. Okay. So that's kind of what you're doing, but you're using your inner sat nav towards the things that excite you. Your highest excitement is getting you and leading you to that correct path in life. And of course, when we do that, the next piece of the puzzle unveils itself. So most people, and I'm sure you see this in your coaching, Ruby, is most people say, okay, there's my vision and I want to know how it's going to unfold. And it just doesn't work like that. You imagine it like the crystal maze, right? You've got to complete one task. It's a British program, so it might not make sense, but it's like an adventure game. Okay. And how it used to work is you'd be in the adventure game and you'd have to do and complete a task. And when you completed the task, this door would open and you'd be through into the next stage. And that's how your purpose will work, right? You have to unveil. It unveils itself to you by going towards the things that excite you. So the clarity comes through the engagement. So you have to start. You can't just expect it to suddenly land in your lap. What's going to happen is it's going to be shown to you as you take the action towards the things that are truly exciting for you.
Right. And so is that piece, the actionable piece, like I'm going to take action on things that are exciting me, is that walking in my Dharma?
That will lead you. Yeah, that will totally is a simple way to describe how to get you on that correct path. And your passions and your unique gifts are almost the breadcrumb trail to that. So if you're listening to this interview, you're a thought leader already, right? But if you think about it, the things that you're passionate about, personal development, transformation, you have gone towards those things and it's taken you to the next path and the next piece of the puzzle. So the misnomer, I think, in the purpose conversation is you're not going to wake up one day and know why you're here on the planet. Your purpose will evolve as you grow, as you take the next path. So your purpose now, Ruby, isn't going to be your purpose in 6-12 months because, of course, you're evolving, you're growing. But your job is to keep listening, right? So keep listening to the signs, keep listening to the signals, and we're always being guided. It's just knowing how to tune in.
Right. And I love that you're saying this, first of all, because this is something I say all the time is your purpose is going to evolve as you evolve. Like everything is meant to evolve. But for the listener who's maybe they're like, well, I don't know if I'm actually walking my Dharma because there are a lot of things that excite me, but I'm not sure if these are the right, the quote unquote, the right things to follow. Have you ever heard that with your clients?
Oh, of course. Yeah. And it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
That's why being involved in a community that is in this conversation is so important. Like the Dharma community that I have, it really helps you unpack what it is that your purpose is and how it's going to manifest for you. But realistically, your passions, and you're going to be using your passions, you're going to be using your unique gifts, and it will be in service, because that is the thing that happens, when we give to others, that truly is that sense of fulfillment that we just can't buy. We're built that way. We're meant to serve, we're meant to help others. So if you're listening to this and you're not sure if you're on the dharmic path, I'd ask you how you feel, right? Do you feel like there's more? Do you feel maybe you're a bit anxious, maybe you're a bit depressed? That was my story. I was very out of alignment with my Dharma. I was chronically depressed. Had a nervous breakdown. Ruby and I've talked about this before on my podcast. I was using drugs and alcohol. We had like parallel stories.
Right. Totally, completely parallel.
And I was totally off my path, and I was looking in the wrong places for that sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. because I wasn't doing my Dharma. I wasn't, you know, tuning in and really going after the things that excited me. I was stuck in the fear.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, and for our listeners, this might not look exactly like alcohol and drugs. Maybe there was some other form of numbing out your pain or whatever it is that you were going through, your destructive habits. But I find that when you're in that destructive state, it's kind of like, oh, why me? I don't have a purpose. Like, I feel like shit. I'm just going to treat myself like shit. And it perpetuates that feeling versus like, let me just follow this next thing that feels exciting to me. Let me follow this next thing that feels like something I'm actually passionate about doing. And so in fact, really the way to break that cycle, the self-destructive cycle, is to not wait for your purpose to land, because I think when you're in that destructive state, it's not going to land.
Doesn't work like that.
Mine sure as hell didn't work like that. But it was the series of taking action towards, and it didn't even have to be big action for me. It was like little baby steps, things that started to spark joy, and then things that started to spark fulfillment, and then things that started to spark a fire in me, which I then realized was my passion.
Exactly. So I love it that you said joy, because joy, highest excitement, passion, they are highest energy vibrations on the planet, right? So we're all energy. I'm sure your listeners are into this. You know, we're energetic beings. Okay. What we put out in the world is what comes back. So if we're in this self-destructive place, you know, literally our energy field is lower. Okay. We are in shame, blame, anxiety, and guilt. So of course, we're not even going to spot opportunities. Okay. If you just have the mantra to go towards on a daily basis, the most exciting thing, that's the simplest way I can break it down for you, because that excitement is raising your vibration. Now, once your life becomes full of excitement, joy, passion, okay, you're like a fireball, you're an energy ball that is out in the world and is attracting those things back to you. So that's why you get the synchronicities, you know, because of course what you're doing, you're not only in alignment with the planet, because the planet is evolving, the planet is growing, the planet wants you to wake up. But you're doing what you were built to do, because your unique gifts are unique to you. Your passions, Ruby, and your skills are different to mine, right? So our job in this lifetime is to uncover actually ourselves, uncover and discover what it is that lights us up, because that puts us in this superconductive place that will get us onto our dharmic path. And then the trick is to let your mind just go, okay, I'm here, let's enjoy it, you know, and let's see what unveils itself. Let's see where what piece of clarity comes next.
Yeah, because people are in such a rush. Like people are in such a rush to, I need to find my purpose now. And you're right. Like I find that a lot of people have difficulty just focusing on, let me be happy now. Let me find that excitement now. Let me find that joy now. Let me create this life that feels joyful, that feels happy, that brings me fulfillment. And with that happening, understand that my purpose will begin to unveil itself. Like our purpose doesn't unveil itself when we're in the pits of misery. It just doesn't. And I know that this happened with you, and it happened with me. We went through our pain stories, but the purpose didn't become clear. We didn't have an epiphany one day in the depths of rock bottom that said, here's your purpose. Like that's not what happened. It was just like a series of taking action towards things that make us feel better, and then things that uplift us, and things that then slowly begin to excite us and bring us joy. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, is it's almost like there's an unlearning process that has to happen before the purpose can even start to come into our periphery, because we have to unlearn like all these different beliefs and stuff that we've picked up along the way that are keeping us from creating a life that actually feels happy. And I feel like a lot of people get stuck there because they're in a fucking rush to get to, but I want to know what my purpose is, and then I'll be happy. And it sounds like the way that you're sharing this process is it's a natural evolution. Be happy now. The purpose will unveil itself.
Totally. And I think, you know, you totally hit the nail on the head, because it takes the pressure off as well.
Yeah.
You know, because exactly as you said, most of us are in a hurry. We want to make an impact. We want to do this, but actually that defeats the object. If we go back to the sense of energy, if you're just, we talk about gratitude, we talk about being happy in the moment, that is so, so important, because that's the energy that you're giving off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then if you just tune in and literally on a daily basis, where am I called? What's the next, like personally for me, I have a vision of a 3-year vision.
Mm-hmm.
I know where I'm going, but I don't attach to it, because the other thing that you really find within Dharma is that, yes, you can have a vision, and yes, it's a really good way to create your future and have an idea of what direction you're headed in. But then what you'll find is the universe can deliver so many more amazing things than you ever anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's by really being in the moment and tuning in and basically saying, okay, what is it today that I feel called to do? And doing those things to the best of your ability with no expectation on the outcome, and seeing where it leads you. Because I bet your bottom dollar, Ruby, if you think about your business,
mm-hmm.
I bet it hasn't quite unfolded as you'd thought, and like suddenly things pop in or opportunities pop in. Wow, I didn't see that coming.
Right. Totally. Yeah. Unexpected.
So, yeah, Bali trips, like,
right.
Oh my God, amazing, but take the pressure off, right? If you're listening to this podcast, your job is just to really, on a day-to-day basis, follow what it is that excites you. It's so simple, but it will unfold as long as you're taking the action. Like, we're not idle people.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's the other piece, right? Like, a lot of people think that, oh, I'm just going to manifest this. Like, I'm just going to tell the universe to give me this and it's going to happen. It's going to drop in, and they miss the action piece. And this is the thing that, in the words of Peter Griffin from Family Guy, really grinds my gears. Like when people are bypassing their divine duty of actually taking action, it's like, well, I'm going to wait here and I'm just going to be patient while the purpose finds me. And then I'll do all the things and be all the things, versus let me be happy now. Let me take action towards the things that excite me now. Let me take action, make choices, make decisions that bring me closer to elevating my happiness and elevating my excitement. Because then the purpose will unveil itself. I think people just get, I don't know what it is, like a laziness, bypassing the responsibility. I've seen it so many times. I think that there's a lot of spiritual teachers out there that also teach a version of this, whereas it really is like up to us to take that action.
Absolutely. The way I like to describe it is intention.
Yeah.
So you set the intention of where you want to go and what you want to manifest. Attention, which effectively is the aligned action. And notice I say aligned, because it has to be aligned with you and your unique gifts and your passions. And then no tension. So you let it go, you relax, you let it go, you get on with doing whatever it is you're called to do next. But your signal that you're putting out into the universe is powerful. But aligned action is very important.
Yeah. So let's talk about aligned action, because we hear the word alignment thrown around a lot lately. And I'd love for you to describe to our listeners how you would describe, like, how would you describe aligned action? What does that actually look like or feel like?
Well, for me personally, I've done a lot of work on discovering and uncovering me and who I am. So what I mean by that is, there's so many different ways you can do that now. Like, there's energy typing. One of my great friends did the vitality test. Me personally, I'm all fire. Like, I'm a lot of fire, and I don't have a huge amount of metal. So I know for me to get things done, I have to work with a team that are very good at completing finishing. So I've really designed how I want my businesses to work. So I know I love doing this. I love to communicate. I love to do my podcast. I love to network. I love to coach. So I've got really clear on the things that bring me joy, the things that really light me up. And then I've kind of outsourced or built a team of people that do those other things. So consequently, I'm staying in my energetic alignment, in my flow. And of course, that makes me want to do it more. I'm not getting bogged down in all the stuff I don't necessarily like.
Right.
And then you can kind of layer it up. You've got the human design. So, it's just one example that popped in my head. What human design type are you? I'm a projector.
Me too.
Teachers.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when people talk about alignment and aligned action, it really has everything to do with how well you know yourself. Like,
yes, exactly.
in order to even understand what aligned action would be, we need to do that deep work to understand who we are, what we like. And I think that if you're in that space of like, well, I don't know what I like, the best thing to do is really just follow the feeling, right? Like if something feels really good, then that means it's in alignment with something, either a value or your human type, whatever it is. And if something does not feel good, then there's probably a reason it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's so simple, but people don't get it. Right. Like, you know, your excitement is a compass. If we taught kids that actually your job in this lifetime, right, is to uncover what it is that you truly love, and actually when you feel resistance in your body, that's your break. So if you think about when you're in that shitty job that you hated and you didn't want to get out of bed, and that resistance was so heavy in your body, it's literally because your body is telling you shouldn't be doing that anymore. You know, so things have weight. So excitement is very high level vibration, and then resistance, anxiety, you know, guilt, shame, all of those things are very low level.
Right.
So it's a very simple way to look at your internal sat nav.
Yeah.
And if you consistently choose in favor of the passions and choose in favor of the excitement, then yeah, that's, you know, it's tweaking you onto the correct path.
So you can't go wrong if you're constantly following your excitement and your passion.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow your highest excitement to the best of your ability.
And so what if, because I have seen people become resistant due to reasons of it just scares them. Versus like I feel like there's like two types of resistance. There's the resistance that we encounter that is like really our system, our internal system way of saying, hey, this isn't right, you know, warning, back away. And then there's this other type of resistance that really comes from our mind and our programming, where maybe we're carrying this belief system that's like, oh, this feels really edgy, this feels uncomfortable, this is outside my comfort zone, but it's actually really meant to be the thing that you're supposed to go after. Because I know for me, I've encountered a lot of that type of resistance where I actually have to like sit down and think like, does this actually feel like it's not right for me, or is there something that I'm meant to overcome here?
I think you're so right. And I think if you put it in the context of, we came here to learn and grow. Okay. So in that context, you are going to get resistance because, as you correctly said, you know, our comfort zones, our egos want to keep us in our comfort zone because it's safe.
Yes.
Okay? So as soon as you start to hit your growth zone, as soon as you start to hit actually where the magic happens, which is outside of that, you know, you are going to get resistance. But as you said, I think the question to ask yourself is this something that scares me? And like you said, doesn't feel right for me? Or is this just because I'm a bit apprehensive because I've never done this before? And, you know, newsflash, you know, when you do your Dharma, when you find and follow your purpose, I tell you what, it's going to be the best adventure you've ever taken. But it is, boy, is it going to push you out your comfort zone, because you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to become the highest and best version of yourself in this lifetime. You can't do that staying still. But what happens is people tend to stay still and they worry about, they sort of don't understand why they've got this discomfort. Everything else is moving forward, but you're not moving forward. So that resistance, the way I describe it, imagine a river and you're flowing down the river, and the river is your growth. Your river is your purpose. The river is the planet, and you're in alignment with that. You're flowing. And then maybe you get stuck by the fear, and that resistance will build up behind the twig, which is you. And suddenly you're just going to burst through it. And this is where you hear people who made redundant, or something massive happens to them because the universe is trying to correct them and put them back onto the correct path, which is learning, growing, evolving. But quite often when we refuse that and we say, no, I'm staying in my comfort zone, I'm going to stay still, stay still, you know, that resistance gets backed up. And I've interviewed, as I'm sure you have, Ruby, so many people who have had near-death experiences when they weren't listening to the signs and signals.
Oh my God, so many. Or like accidents, or like something big happens. It's almost as if to like push them, like physically push them out of it.
You're not listening, we're going to have to move you, is the way I look at it.
And it's crazy because I think a lot of people think of that type of stagnancy as something that only happens to, you know, quote unquote beginner levels, like people who are just starting out. But this happens, I think, to everyone, because as long as we're evolving, we're going to continue to hit new upper limits and continue to hit new zones of discomfort.
New level, new devil.
Right. I love that. New level, new devil. And we continue to hit these zones of discomfort, and we can experience those periods of stagnancy again. And it's really like our divine duty to continue to get back up and to continue to create that momentum so that we can evolve our purpose and ourselves as individuals.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's really cool that we both agree that purpose is meant to evolve. I think that this is one of the most common misconceptions about purpose is like, you find this one thing and that is your thing for life. And I don't think there's anything in our planet that just stays one thing forever. Like, everything is always evolving. And so, whatever purpose that we have today, my purpose today is not going to be my purpose, in a year from now. Like it's evolved already so much in the 5 years that I've been doing this. And I know that yours has evolved too.
Yeah. And the way I look at it is like a magical mystery tour. Like when I first started my podcast, I don't know about you, but I just got the call. I knew I came out of a messy business partnership split. I was ignoring my intuition. And when I came out, I thought, right, do you know what? I'm going to do what I want to do for once. And I'm going to really listen to my intuition. And I'm not going to do what makes other people happy, right?
Yeah.
I got the call, let's start the podcast. So that's what I did. I had no idea. I'd never started a podcast. I'm sure the same for you. I didn't know what I was doing. But what became apparent within 3 months was I'd interviewed all these thought leaders. And of course, the next step was obvious. It was like, right, you need to write a find and follow your purpose course. And then all your shit kicks in and you go, like, who am I to do this? And once you kind of get out of the way of that, I started to just let it flow through me. And then I had the opportunity to come up to study Dharma with one of the leading experts on the planet with Dharma. And it was like, oh my God, this is perfect for what I'm doing. And it was like, once I started to get into the slipstream and start to listen, all the right people turned up. It just unfolded and unveiled itself. And now obviously I have my Dharma community, and we've got people all over the world doing their Dharma, and they go through the course, they get to learn the skills, and then they create the vision for their life. And our community obviously helps that unfold. But if you'd have asked me that 3 years ago, I'd have been like, I haven't got a clue where I'm going or what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that so interesting? Like today, looking back, everything makes so much sense. But going back to where we were, no, nothing makes any sense. and that's like, I think that's a really perfect representation of this work of finding our Dharma and purpose, is that we're not supposed to really fixate on the how or having like the right way of doing it. It's more so following the feeling and following what lights us up, and the more that we begin to do that, which in itself can be tough, right? Because we're not taught, we're not brought up or raised to do that. We're not raised to say, oh yeah, follow your fire. No, we're taught to like follow a system, go to school, get a degree, do the things, get married, buy a car, buy a house, all those things. And this goes against like, it almost shatters that system, that programming that we have to follow our Dharma in this way, to find our purpose in this way, or uncover our purpose in this way. But this really is how I believe, and I know you believe this, that we're all meant to live and to thrive as individuals and as a collective, is by following the things that light us up and following the things that excite us.
Your job is to know what, not how.
That's always such an important reminder to drive home.
Yeah. And, I always believe that dreams are given to us for a reason. I don't believe that we're given a dream that we can't achieve. So whatever it is, you're listening, what's your dream? Because that's been given to you for a reason, for a purpose, So your job is to know what, not how. And then just on a consistent daily basis, take that aligned action to what it is that you love and what it is that excites you. But as you said, Ruby, we don't get taught this. Like, no. I like to try and simplify this as much as possible. Right. So it may sound like uber simple, but we just don't come from that way of thinking. We don't understand how our purpose evolves, So it is kind of new, really. And I like to sort of break it down into the simplest steps, you know, and literally you can write a to-do list on a daily basis and look at your to-do list. And rather than all that conditioning that says you must do the hardest thing first, or you should get all the stuff out of the way that you don't like, you know, actually just look and see what calls you on a day-to-day basis on your list, you know, and do that. That's the highest excitement. It's a very simple way just to break it down.
Right. Yeah. Follow your highest excitement. I love that. Yeah, it's so simple. It sounds so simple. And the reason why I think a lot of people, when they hear that, are like, oh, that's just a load of shit, or oh, that's just fluffy, is because of the programming. Like it's almost like we're not taught that things can be this simple. We're taught
if you
that
put it,
things are complicated.
Absolutely. But I wanted to put it in like quantum physics terms.
Right.
If you put it in, you know, as we talked about energy, you know, if that excitement is a high level emotional vibration. So when you're consistently doing that, of course, you're going to start to attract better circumstances, better people, better situations and synchronicities into your life, because it's high vibe, you know, that's how it works.
Yeah. I love that. I love that because again, you know, for so long in my life, I know that I was overcomplicating everything. But again, it was just something that was taught. And when I started realizing that things could be more simple, that's when I really started finding that the puzzle pieces started to piece together. You know, the dots started to connect. And now I even have like a sticky note on my desk that says, how can I make this more simple? Because, you know, our reptilian mind, our ego, wants to always overcomplicate things, and it's so comforting to go back to what actually feels more ease filled or simple, because that can often bring us back to the things that actually do bring us joy. Like, what if we were to get up every morning and as an entrepreneur and just ask, like, what would bring me the highest joy today? Instead of, let me just pull out my long list of 1,000 to-dos and things that I should be doing because other people are doing it.
And I think you're so right, because like, it's got such a bad rap, hasn't it? Follow your bliss. You know, it sounds cheesy, it sounds snap, but actually in its simplest form, it is true, you know, because the way I look at it is we're all parts of consciousness, you know, we're all effectively parts of consciousness, and our job as consciousness is to know ourselves. So as we talked about, you know, uncovering and discovering yourself and what brings you that highest joy is what you're here to do, in the simplest way of putting it.
Yes. I love that. Because I know that our listeners are probably like, wait, what the fuck? I'm overcomplicating everything. This is amazing.
You're a human being. Yeah.
It's okay. We all do this. This. So we're nearing the end of this episode. I'd love for you to share maybe a final thought with our listeners, something that you feel called to share that you think that they need to hear.
Well, I think I want to reiterate my point about dreams.
Okay.
Because, you know, we're not taught, right? We're taught that dreams are up high in the sky, but no, not in my what's the word? Not on my watch.
Yeah.
You know, if you're here and you're listening to this and you've got this dream about how you want your life to look, you've got a vision, you've got the people you want to serve, you know, trust in that. Trust that that's been given to you for a reason, for a purpose, and it's coming, you know, but enjoy the journey.
So important to enjoy the journey, because that forces us to be present on it too. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kitty, for bringing your wisdom and sharing about Dharma and purpose in such a simplified way that I feel is going to be really easy to digest for our listeners. Why don't you tell our listeners how they can stalk you online?
Yeah, please come stalk me. Kitty_talks on Instagram. I have a podcast where I interview thought leaders as well. And I also do solo casts. And I have kittytalks.com, which is my website, which you can sign up. And we have a free Facebook group as well on Facebook.
Amazing. So I'm going to have all those links in the show notes. So be sure to follow Kitty, listen to her podcast. It's amazing. Kitty, thank you so much for coming here, sharing your wisdom with us today. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Today's Thought Leader, where I'm challenging you to rise up, speak up, and create a movement. If you love this episode with me and Kitty, please reach out and let us know on social media. Hit us up and drop a rating and review and share this episode with a friend. If you have any questions about this episode, feel free to reach out to us as well. And I will see you back here on Thursday for a brand new episode of Today's Thought Leader.